Going 8 o'clock, and we want to get out of here promptly at 9 o'clock. So, Emery, you want to make the roll call?
Thomas Blonde.
Here.
Tim Davis.
Here.
Bill
Thank you.
Ellinger.
Here.
Carol Killian. Larry McDermott.
Here.
Ruth Traeger.
Here.
Bishop Derek Triple.
Okay. We need the approval of the minutes. If you've read the minutes, someone?
Both sets.
Both sets.
Both sets?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Dr. Sharples,
Yes, sir.
thank you for coming today. And
It's my pleasure to be back with a lot of old friends. Thank you for the invitation. I don't really know what you really want me to do, just tell you a little bit about what we're doing, Mr. Chairman, or...
that would be great.
All right. We have a new member. I think you all know that the past mayor has joined our ranks, and so we are now 6 strong, with Glenn Ritchie having joined the alliance. And we have a very well-defined split mission with our colleagues that are sitting to my left over there, your right. And principally, the issue of recruiting external outside business industry falls in the lap of Team Volusia, represented today by Denise Mott, who used to work with us over at the CEO Business Alliance, so she kind of knows both sides of this. So the two of us work on that external relationship issue, trying to build businesses or recruit businesses to move into Volusia County. On the other hand, the county has done a great job and worked with Phil for many years, and Pedro and Rob now in that capacity to work with existing industry. And you'll probably see a little release coming up here fairly soon about some collaborative efforts that we've had on an existing industry where we're going to add about 80 new jobs to an existing industry in the area. So we're working very closely together in all of those venues. I have the distinct advantage of not having any public money involved, so we can do a little bit more from the standpoint of creating some inside or front-end incentives. Most of the state's incentives, as you probably know, are back-end oriented. They come to you through the QTIs and so forth. You approve them, it goes to the county and on to the state. And most of that is in the form of tax rebates. Very seldom does a state ever get involved in putting any money on the front end. So what we're focusing on is trying to build some front-end incentives. One of those would include, for example, a free lease rate for a year for a company that moves a number of jobs into the area, depending on how many and what level of jobs they are. We've got a company that will offer free HR services, including recruiting, a workforce, as well as setting up payroll and doing those sorts of things. Obviously, we've got some help in accounting and legal. Beyond that, we're using the moving company that NASCAR uses to really discount moving if we can find somebody to do it. So we're trying to build those in-kind services to be able to build in some front-end incentives. And the reason is, Larry, as you know, the state of South Carolina, as well as every other southeastern state, are extremely competitive. I cut my teeth in economic development 35 years in South Carolina, from Myrtle Beach and Charleston to Greenville and Anderson. We just lost a gun manufacturer, and quite frankly, one of the sectors that I'm going after is gun manufacturing. As you might imagine, following the recent events in Connecticut, there's a heavy pressure for legislation up there, legislators, to outlaw gun manufacturing in Connecticut and New Hampshire and all those other states. So we're actively recruiting those. There's a company by the name of PTR that I've been talking with, excuse me, fairly extensively, located in Connecticut, just moved to Myrtle Beach. Moved to Myrtle Beach, you know why? Because Myrtle Beach gave them a building. And so having something on the front end, having a ready-to-occupy facility, finding that opportunity, getting some support on the front end from the private sector or the public sector to be able to augment what the state does on the back end is extremely important. We're obviously working on the whole idea of entertainment, and it's called tourism in a lot of arenas, but I'll leave here and go to a meeting over at NASCAR where we're having a meeting with the NASCAR officials with regard to some of the subcontracts that will be available through the development of their plans on the super stretch over there. And hopefully we can connect that up with some companies if they're, what we're going to try to do there, and this will go back to working through and with the county, is encourage as much local participation in some of those contracts, but if not that, to at least recruit outside companies if the contracts are large to attempt to engage them in using local subcontractors and so forth. So we're going to be doing that this morning. Tourism is a big thing. Obviously, we've been somewhat involved in the 2 hotels from a peripheral standpoint. I can open a lot of doors by using the names of my my investors. When Kent Sharples calls, they say who, and I usually get Attila the Hun at the front desk who cuts me off real short, but if I tell him I work for NASCAR, I get a whole lot different response, so that kind of works to open a door or two. But we work really well with all these guys. The Chamber of Commerce is instrumental in a lot of our projects as well. We had a meeting last week where all of the principals came together, and we're going to try to expand the whole concept of front-end incentives to look at an equity fund of some sort, whether that'll be an angel investment group or just a group of people who have interest in a project or 2 or 3 that will almost provide access to the company, to these investors, for them to pick and choose if they see fit. Almost like a Shark Tank kind of an idea. Hyatt's kind of big on that, and we think that has some great potential, again, to create some front-end incentives. I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have, but really appreciate the city and all it does to help keep us moving forward, too. Yes,
Have we
ma'am.
had any luck in luring companies connected with racing to Daytona?
Well, I'm working on 2 right now. Jim France wants to create Daytona Beach as a center for sports car manufacturing. And I think about it this way. I wasn't as much of a NASCAR fan as I am now, but as you know, he owns Grand Am and he bought ALMS, American Le Mans Series, so he now has all the sanctioning rights for all of road racing throughout North America. And if you think of those cars as cars that turn right and left instead of just left, the sports cars are in the road tracks, and that somebody's got to make those cars, and not all of them are original equipment. What we're looking at, talking to a couple of companies, a couple of them international companies, about moving here to build those cars here so that we would become the center for sports car manufacturing, like Charlotte is a center for building stock cars. If you want a stock car built, you go up there, get Gibbs or one of the big companies to build you a $1 million automobile. It's not like the old days, Larry, where you went out and bought a Chevrolet and turned the crank, put in a couple of camshafts, and tuned up the carburetor.
Run the door.
Yeah. These things are built from the ground up, and so will the sports cars be. So if we can get that done, we've got a local company that's very interested in doing carbon fiber work for the bodies, and so we brought the manufacturer together with a local guy that does carbon fiber. The thought being, if we can get the mechanical work manufactured here, local company can produce the bodies from carbon fiber, and the fact that Embry-Riddle has a new wind tunnel coming online, and you think of wind tunnels and airplanes, but wind tunnels are really important to sports cars as well. So all of that kind of circles up, and met with John Johnson a time or two. We'll keep that up and see how we can make it work. It's just a process of building relationships. We've got one company that Denise helped me with a couple of years ago, Barry Walsh, who is coming back. He was here before you 2 years ago. New York promised him $1 million if he'd stay in New York, and guess what? New York never delivered. And so now Barry calls me back because one of his senior guys gets really sick, and he's starting to put 2 and 2 together and thinking life isn't going to go on forever and all the tax in New York. And so he's saying to us, let's come back and take another look. And he'll be here, I think, again in August. But guess who's recruiting him heavily, Larry? Greenville, South Carolina.
Of course.
So he's up there
They
right
have some weapons up there.
They have a lot of weapons. They've been doing this stuff for Well, Fritz Hollings and Strom Thurmond started it all back in the late 60s, and so they've polished their skills. Well, Florida's just fairly new in the game. It's just the fact of life. I mean,
Well, they have a governor up there, her name's Haley,
Nikki Haley, yeah.
and she is extremely involved in it. I mean,
The governor always was. When I was up there, Carroll Campbell was the governor, and Carroll was the chief economic developer for the state of South Carolina. And it's a very small state, but whenever the team went out, Carroll led that team, and I think Nikki's doing the same. When Boeing gets through up there, they'll have 14,000 workers. Now, what did South Carolina give them for that? Close to $500 million. Some of it up front, some of it in tax rebates, but everybody's sitting around clapping their hands and cheering Boeing. And here in this state, the newspapers usually are very critical of this governor, who really is very active in this business, too. In fact, he called Barry Walsh personally twice. Governor Scott did. But every time he does something on the front end, he gets criticized in the media to the extent that it's a hard sell. And he's a little gun shy, and I don't blame him. You know, he's got to run for re-election, so it's tough. So we're competing with some states, and that's why we're working on trying to develop some front-end incentives. If we can't get them from the state, maybe we can get them locally.
Yeah, I had a racing team actually moving to the industrial park island. So I'll get you their contact information. They're from Montana. Drive for Success is the company that's sponsoring the car. And so I'll get you that information.
Yeah, get it to me, and we'll.
It's a small shop, but it's still open wheel racing, Le Mans type of racing.
Well, that's exactly what Jim's trying to do. So if you'll get me that, we'll add it to the pool of 2 or 3 we're working with now. And we start out thinking we're going to go after companies 150, 250 employees. But I'll tell you what, if we can get a company with 10 employees to move here first, and sometimes it's just a subdivision of that company, the next step is to go from 10 to 20 to 30. And so small companies are bread and butter.
One of the things we're going to discuss today, later on, Dr. Sharples, is a plan of action. It's a 4-point plan, and part of that is going to be the police station.
Yeah.
The city owns that police station. It's been sitting there, I guess, empty for now, about 2.5 years, maybe longer.
About 3.
3 years. Something like that. Is that site a viable site if the city were able to donate that to a business or something like that? You bring a company in. Maybe they need a 10,000 square foot office building, something like that. Site's raised and a building's and that land contributed. Would something like that help your effort?
Yeah, I would. And Embry and I have had this conversation. One of the things I'm doing with manufacturing space, we've got a number of buildings that are owned by private sector people, but by talking to them, and I've got one that I'm working on, I'll be with them tomorrow. If the owner of the building, in this case the city, would donate the first year's rent at no cost to a tenant for a good 3 to 5 year lease following that, it's the hump that gets you over that initial problem. First year of any company moving is the most expensive. So if you can defer any of those costs by offsetting their HR costs or any of the other things that we've been working on, but principally the rent. If the city would say, yes, we'll give you 10,000 square feet at no rent for a year or 6 months or whatever it might be, that's a huge incentive. And sometimes that's the thing that it takes to push a decision maker over the top. And we're trying to deal with companies. Well, first of all, if any company has survived this, many of them refer to it as a depression instead of a recession. But if they have survived, they are extremely conservative. If they've made it through the last 4 or 5 years, these are people that didn't get overly leveraged to begin with, and they're not going to get overly leveraged now. And so they're looking for incentives, and that's why these competitive states are kicking us a little bit, because these are very, very conservative people, and they're not going to get out there. If the city would make a part of that building available, it'd be a big help. We had a law school that looked at it, as you'll recall, and that didn't materialize, but there are other businesses that would fit that particular facility.
Well, maybe the facility's not right, maybe the land is.
Could be. Could very well be, yeah.
Much more likely.
So I guess it gets down to a question, do you want to let it sit empty, or do you want to give it away for a year and get somebody in there with the money to come on the back end? It's a political issue, because you got to sell that to the public, and that's kind of what the governor's facing too, I think.
Yeah, well, I think that issue starts here.
Yeah.
And our recommendation to the city.
Well, you have, yeah, the city has control of that facility, and that would be huge. It would help all of us, it would help Embry. I mean, if we could get out there and promote it.
If I might. That was part of the package that we were offering the law school. The break on rent or what have you was on the table. What the city could not do was rehab the building.
Yeah,
Right.
It is like a third the size the law school wanted. The law school looking for 50,000
Yeah,
square feet. No
yeah.
one seemed to mention that. And the talk of the law school, I've talked to those guys about multiple buildings in town.
well, I talked to
Talk
that,
about the Roots building over here I have for sale, for lease, for rent, for whatever you want to do.
yeah.
That's 28,000 feet. They need 50. No, 50,000 feet office buildings in Daytona that I'm aware of.
But if we can match, see, if we can match what you could do with giving the city giving a lease away for a year with a pool of investors who might say, look, we'll provide $2 million to do the rehab on the building for a 50% equity stake in the law school or whatever it might be. So that's why we're looking at trying to find some equity investors who would be willing to play that role. And we've got several, but matching the equity investor with the project is a real challenge. Had a meeting last week with about 8 people to try to put that group together, and some are interested in one thing, some not in another. But usually it takes 2 or 3 of them, because nobody wants the whole deal. But if we can put a group of people who have a lot of, and there's a lot of money on the table out there. There's a ton of money just sitting around, and a lot of people looking for places to invest it. So if we can match them up with the city's willingness to give away the part of the building or all of the building for a period of time, then that starts to make the package that makes us competitive that we can sell. If we can sell that, then that makes a huge difference, because you submit a proposal. Denise puts these proposals together. They go through the county. Pedro gets involved in them. The city approves them, and they go up to the state. But it's like playing poker. Whatever you put in that proposal, you got one shot at it, because there's 66 other counties out there submitting proposals too. If you don't have your best ante out there, if you don't say, well, we'll do this, or this is a potential opportunity. One of the big gun manufacturers that we've been dealing with, we just happened to find out who they were, made a few phone calls, and so we found out who the company is up in Ilion, New York. That ought to give you a big hint. We were competing against, I don't know, it was Broward or one of the big southern, and so I'm talking to the company about, hey, if we got you some cash up front, like $1 million, we're talking about 2,900 jobs. It's a huge company. And they wanted MSA of over 1 million people. But I find out in talking to them that, now again, you don't know how much of this to believe, but South Florida offered them $5 million cash up front to bring the whole operation down there. But then you get into this whole business, are they just playing Florida or every other state against New York? And I think that in this case they are. It's Remington. I mean, Remington's out there making lots of noise about moving, but it's 2,900 jobs, and if they came, it would be wonderful. But the other problem we have, and these folks will attest to this too, probably is workforce, primarily in the metalworking arena. The ATC out there is a huge benefit to us, but we can't crank out enough CNC technicians, not just operators, but people that have the mathematical skills and the ability to program these machines and operate them. Anyway, I could talk all day, but I'm taking up too much time.
Any other questions?
Phil's up there saying, shut up and sit down.
All right, well, thank you, Dr. Sharples.
Thank you. Very good.
Let's go quickly to our reports. Volusia County Economic Development Department. Pedro?
Good morning.
Morning.
Always nice to be here and come back to my own stomping grounds. It's been 10 years or so. But So it feels a little bit like a home away from home. So thanks for having me here. Well, you know, first of all, I guess congratulations are in order. I know that you know, this city has received it from many. I would like to add my 2 cents, certainly, of the support and the leadership that the city has taken on and is bearing fruit as the economy begins to slowly come off, as they say, bouncing along the bottom. Maybe the bouncing is no longer, and that would be the good thing. So congratulations on all the announcements. I don't think there's any question, probably all experienced as we have, the increase in inquiries, increase in people wanting to understand what is it that's special about this particular community, that these investment decision making seem to be leading that of other cities. Oh, is it not coming through?
I just want to make sure.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Upcoming for us, as you may know, August 9th is the CUBE. We certainly want to extend a warm invitation to everybody to join us for the CUBE briefing on August 9th. We are looking forward to a great turnout and hopefully continued positive information. And let me just piggyback on Ken's note about this morning, that I will be there as well at the Daytona National Speedway for their forum, where they are having the information session for those interested in bidding on the Daytona Rising project, and we want to certainly be present and be supportive of that effort, and hopefully there will be a great capture of from local businesses for that all-important project.
When is that, Pedro?
It's 10 o'clock this morning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, where is that going to occur? Where exactly at the Speedway?
To the Bill France room.
Yeah, I was about.
Special, correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
Short of that, my last comment to you all would be that one of the things that has struck me this week is how the internet and electronic economic development data systems appear to be increasing in usage and productivity and coming together quite nicely. Don't want to presume, but all of you have been seeing Florida Power and Light's outreach program for their poweringflorida.com website. Am I correct? Y'all familiar? That is a wonderful tool and a great effort by them to put it out there and to interact with government as a strong partner. If you've not been out to the site, we encourage you to go out and use it. And that's a nice addition, because there are other sites at the federal level, at the state level, that are doing similar things, where you can bring up Volusia County, you can bring up the city of Daytona Beach, and you can quickly share with someone on a phone call, on a conversation, on your phone, very salient and quick competitive information about the community. Consumer expenditures, demographic heat maps, all very nicely done and all very colorful. It's just a slam dunk in terms of quickly conveying impactful information on why your community can be a competitor in situations where you want newer growing businesses to come. The federal level has recently put out, it's still in beta testing, business.usa.gov, because they got tired of people getting lost in the system. They really wanted a no wrong door approach to getting business information on how they can grow. So business.usa.gov is an attempt for them to just one spot get your answer and access the government. It's terrible that a business might have a regulatory question on something they're working on and not be able to figure it out and waste a lot of time. So this is an attempt on a federal level to do something about it. So it was nice to see that finally come out and get rolling. I'm sure you're all familiar with FloridaProspector.com, which is the GIS sitemap for the state of Florida. They chose GIS planning, which is, of course, they describe themselves as the Google for this, because ZoomProspector.com is the free site selection tool that also has demographic information, including, our location, that you can see and use and work with.
Do
So
we, do we advertise on any of those? Because like pop-ups or whatever, on those types of, is that part of our marketing dollar?
not on the advertising side. I'd have to go back and ask.
I mean, I've seen like be a, especially if they put in a 3-2 or a Florida zip code. I know you can do that stuff. I just don't know how you do it.
I have seen the state do some things, but I can't speak specifically. But my point being is that it is now, I think, well understood the power of the internet, and that the old forms of media and print and all that other stuff aren't as effective or as far-reaching or as mobile. And so this is a great coming together. GIS Planning also has a series of free webinars and items on their website that connects economic development to social media, how you understand it, whether it's for existing businesses or site selection. There's a number of things. If you simply want to see what's going on, it's great. So it's a wonderful, quick, shorthand, portable tool that I'm certainly beginning to make more use of, and certainly would recommend it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Pedro. Any questions? All right. And you're not Keith.
No, I'm not. Are these on? Are we using these?
Yes.
Okay, forgive me, I haven't been up here. I'm returning also from 15 years ago that I worked with the city of Daytona Beach, so I also feel at home, and then having my other old employers, so a lot of familiar faces. Young former employer.
There you go.
I want to thank you for having me here. I'm Denise Mott, Business Development Director with Team Volusia, and speaking on behalf of Keith, who I was able to speak to many of you, but he did have a mishap, an accident, 10 staples to the head on a business trip. So he is just returned home and resting as he needs. So I want to take you quickly. I see that in the back of your package, you have received our activity report. I could be here for an hour going over each one individually. I won't do that. I'm going to just point out the highlights on the report, and you'll notice that they all the project names, the source, and most importantly, the stage, number of jobs, and product, or it's actually industry. Apologize for that. And you'll notice that the great majority of our projects, we have approximately, I think it's 37 active projects listed here, and they are within our target industries of manufacturing, technology, and distribution warehouses. Of course, we're appropriately situated for that. In stage 0, we have a number of projects, and the increased activity is really coming about from our outreach activities. Keith will be here within the coming months to give you more full report on everything that we've been doing over the past 6 months and the following 6 months to come. But most importantly, we are staying out in front of site selectors, consultants, to get on the front end of projects instead of being reactive. We are being extremely proactive, and we have our most recent mission. We went to Canada, both Quebec and Ontario, and enlisted the help of a company called ROI, which is located in Canada, and they were able to arrange face-to-face meetings with CEOs of companies in our targeted industries. We had 10 meetings, and a great majority of those are in our stage 1 prospects. We've provided a significant amount of information to them, obviously, while we were up there, and then there's follow-up when we've come home. They have interests. The Canadians had a great interest in, 1, expanding into the Southeast, and then 2, into Florida. They are very aware of the larger MSAs, and we were able to point out the low cost of doing business in our MSA. And in addition to those prospects, we also, it's outside of our target industry, but many of our cities are interested in retail commercial development. We attended the ICSC, International Council of Shopping Centers, Recon Convention in Nevada, and we were able to make a lot of great connections throughout the county for development throughout the county. And those projects are in stage 0 and 1. As you move down the pipeline, you also see some other projects which are a result of some of the other outreach we did in Chicago. And Keith has been very active with Enterprise Florida and has really significantly increased the number of projects that are coming down through the state that we were previously being passed up, and they're really taking a closer look at us. But it is important to remember that our stage 1 prospects are looking at the entire southeast region, have not focused in on an exact location within Volusia County, but we do present properties and locations throughout the whole county, and of course Daytona Beach is a very easy location to market. As you go into stage 2, we have some prospects who are moving very quickly. Actually, I will point out the Project Dial. We are working very closely with them right now to put together an incentive package. It is a customer support center of 500 jobs. That would be, they are looking at Deltona, and further down the pipeline, Project Ringtone is looking at Daytona Beach. They were here just 2 weeks ago. And again, that is 600 to potentially 700 jobs. It's a customer care center as well. Extremely reputable, billion-dollar company, nationally recognized, and Daytona Beach is one of the top 3 sites for their next client, and they feel very strongly that within the next 6 months they should have an appropriate client to locate here. And moving into stage 4, we have Project Flyer and Project Air, and both of those we feel strongly will land. Project Air is in Daytona Beach, and we will be meeting with them shortly to see how we can progress the negotiations on that project. It's important for me to let you know that in our Lost section, we have Project Nickel, which was in stage 4. They were in negotiations. Daytona Beach did approve an incentive package. The company did not receive a contract with Venezuela, and actually Kent Sharples, the Alliance, was the lead on this project because of these strong NASCAR connections. We were able to collaborate together, but they have at this time withdrawn their application to the state. Hopefully, maybe that'll come back in the future. And then Project Raintree is also in our Lost section, but that is significant. It was Amazon, and it's important to know that through our outreach efforts, we were able to, before that project became a project through the state, we were in direct conversations with Amazon, and were able to present a package with one of our partners on a Daytona Beach location. It was a 1 million to 1.25 million square foot facility, build to suit, and the 250 semi-trailers per hour, 4 per minute. We presented the information, 1,200 employees, Amazon told us directly that our MSA was not appropriate for this project, but that as projects come along, additional projects for the state, that they will keep us in mind. Keith has a very good connection to the economic development director for Amazon, so we will stay in front of them and hopefully top of mind for the next project. I think that's the highlights from the report. I'd be happy to answer any questions, and if I can't, I'll have Keith get back to you.
Any questions? All right, well, thank you very much. Thank you. I've asked Jim Cameron, or actually the Daytona Beach Regional Chamber. I had a discussion last night with the chamber, and you know, the chamber is an integral part of this group, and I don't know exactly how it got X'd out of the group. So I've asked Jim to come here today, and he may not have a preparation, but I would like the chamber at least to sit in on what we have, or what we're doing. If there's something going on and Jim knows about it, then fine. You know, I just wanted to make sure that we had all the economic development areas covered in the Daytona Beach regional area.
And thank you there, Larry. I appreciate that. I mean, first of all, I'd like to make notice to everybody, if you might want to join us next Wednesday, I believe it is, a week from tomorrow. That'll be the 24th of July. We're hosting a reception at Daytona Beach Hilton, and this is in regard to the new Hard Rock hotel that'll be coming in Daytona Beach. Now, that'll be from 4 to 6 p.m. next Wednesday, the 24th. And just call our office and to RSVP for that. And we're going to be having the, like I say, the president of Bayshore Capital. He'll be discussing their plans and all like that. And also with Glenn Storch, local land use attorney, he'll be discussing it as well, though. So providing other details just about when there will be developing, breaking ground, and probably building details and things like that. So that'll be the 24th next Wednesday. And then since our last meeting, Daytona Regional Chamber has been working with other groups, and we formed a new group called Space Volusia, kind of like Space Florida. We've been working very closely with Space Florida. This is in relation to the Space Florida's attempts to locate a commercial launch site facility in Volusia County, the south end of Volusia, below Oak Hill, at a point called Shiloh, and you probably saw the article in the paper yesterday. But they're going to be doing an environmental impact study, and that's going to be headed up by the Federal Aviation Administration, and that's going to take about a year, over a year process, and that's pretty much going to be out of our hands and all. And Daytona Chamber, we took a group of, like I say, 7 people up there to Washington last month and met with a number of individuals on that regarding this project. And we met with, like I say, Senator Bill Nelson and Congressman John Mica and Congressman Ron DeSantis. And we met with staff members as well from several other congressional offices and all, especially people who serve on the Science, Space, and Technology Committee from Florida. And we also met with Dr. Woodrow Whitlow from NASA and George Neild and his staff from Federal Aviation Administration. And again, just got more details about this. And we're going to be monitoring that environmental impact study very closely. But we feel that this project itself, the launch site, is not going to provide probably that many jobs. But it's going to be, if we can get it established, it's going to be a magnet to bring companies that will want to locate very close to that launch site. And by doing so, that's going to mean significant job potential here in Volusia County, and especially from Embry-Riddle, which has now got the space management curriculum, the only one of its kind in the country. And we would love to see those students connected with this new Space Florida launch site. So we have put together a Facebook page, and we'd ask if you go online, if you're on Facebook, and to join it. It's called Space Volusia, and it'll provide you more information about the activities and everything about the issue per se. And then in addition, and I may be calling y'all sometime in the next week, few weeks or few months or so, I'd like to get with you regarding, we have some individuals from Tallahassee or so. Got one today that I'm bringing in from Department of Financial Services, Jeff Atwater's department. And again, I'd like to sit down with some of y'all just to introduce you to these individuals and to make those connections here in Volusia County and Daytona Beach, but more so to just like say build those relationships. So if you can provide them kind of a heads up on how the economy is going here locally.
Mhm.
So that's us.
Good. Any questions? Well, thank you for being part of the group, and you'll be, someone from the chamber hopefully will be here every month.
It'll probably be.
Okay. Just real short on the Vision Foundation, we're going to have the 5th anniversary of the Vision Plan, a kind of a revisioning effort on September 14th at 9 a.m. at the police station. This will be a one-day event. There'll be Jacksonville did theirs over like about 6 weeks, and we decided that we can probably do ours over in one day so that the overall vision plan will fit on a trifold front and back so that we won't have that complicated document of 30 or 40 pages and have 178 different emphasis. We'll have probably out of the 6 areas, we'll have 5 emphasis each, so 30 emphasis. It got to be a point where Hardy Smith has been working diligently trying to get all of the emphasis that have been legislated through the city commission, got through it about halfway, and it's just it's too big of an effort. There's just too many things, too many parts and pieces. So anyway, in 5 years the city's changed because of the economy generally, and there's a new emphasis in tourism. There's a new emphasis in manufacturing. These types of things that we need to recognize, and so we're going to try to do that in one afternoon, one morning and afternoon, to be from like 9 a.m. to 3. Be very respectful of time. And Jim Dixon will be also running this like he did the Vision Foundation meetings. And there'll be a email blitz going out. In fact, that's what I talked to George last night about. George Mirabal to help us with it, with using the chamber site as well. So that'll be again September 14th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the meeting room up in the police station. Old business. Okay, new business. Chairman's prerogative. If you would pass that down. Over the last few weeks, I've had a couple discussions with Emery. I've had a couple discussions with George and different other folks. And I guess I would like to have this committee, this board, have some specific goals. And in those specific goals, these aren't right. This is just chairman's prerogative right now, and we can certainly vote on these as to order of priority, whether we want to do them or not, or whatever. And number one was the Walmart property at Mason and Nova. That's been planned. It's been I'm not sure if it's been permitted, but I'm sure there's a development order out there. This is a piece of property that is over 890,000 square feet of property. What is that, 20 acres? Over 22 acres maybe? That originally is a sales price of $7,420,000. It's on the tax roll at $2 million now. It's raw land. It's right there where Father Lopez was back in the year. And one of the reasons why I thought about this as being a property that we might want to, as a board, to find out what's happening with it and to see, what can be, what we can do to push it forward, is that I guess the average Walmart has, 500, 600 jobs. Now, they may be part-time, they may be minimum wage jobs, but there are jobs. And there are skilled jobs in there, folks at the audit department. There'll be management staff. There'll be full-time jobs. And right now, the city, especially in that area of the community, need jobs. And I know that there was some political pushback from some of the residents in that area at one time. I'm not sure if that's still a situation that's going on now. But I thought that would be a project that it's on somebody's radar screen. We just need to make sure it maybe define it a little bit more. And I don't know exactly how to do that. I don't know if anybody here knows the status of that project, if it's even on your list.
No, it's not, and I'm thinking that would be a great property to market on our website, but.
The last I heard, the intended use is to be one of those Walmart neighborhood centers, the green Walmart like at Flomish and Nova, and those have not been an overwhelming success for Walmart. So they kind of paused on that. And I don't believe it's 20.5 acres. I don't think it's quite large enough, given development constraints, to build a
Supercenter.
supercenter. So,
Okay.
with modern suburban land development code that we have in this city.
Well, do you know who?
I haven't talked to them in a while. I mean, I have some adjacent properties. There's a property on the north side of Mason that Tire Kingdom is. I represent those owners, and then across the street from the one in Holly Hill. So I've kind of kept tabs a little bit of what they're doing with their out parcel up there at Flomish and that, but not any degree of.
That law school, is that still up in the air, or have they found a place, or would this be maybe suitable for them?
Well, at $7.5 million, it may be pretty much of a checkpoint for a school. We don't know. And I don't
You
know.
said it's listed at $2 million now.
No. It's on the tax roll at $2 million, and it was bought for $7.5. So I'm not sure what the disconnect on that is. Except that they've probably, went through the value adjustment board to get the assessment down, since this raw land right now. Do you know if there's a development order?
I don't know where the status of that is.
Can we find out about that? Whether there's a development order on it? Yeah. Let's just keep it on our radar screen and see what what might happen. And you might be completely right that it's too small for Walmart, and that the Walmart marketplace is not doing well, so that they're kind of in between.
You have to look at the surrounding corners. The shopping center on the opposite corners, not exactly A class. So, with a new retail developer to come in there and try to build a shopping center, that's kind of a tough sell in that market right now. So.
Sure.
And if Walmart's still carrying on their books at some number close to what they paid for it, it could be a balance sheet issue for the real estate department.
Yeah, I just hadn't seen any for sale signs. A lot of times,
Yeah.
there's this for sale sign on a piece down in Fort Orange that was supposed to be a marketplace as well. Unfortunately, I think that was never approved because of the neighbors.
Yeah.
The neighborhood. Yes, sir.
Is there a marketing piece on that? I've kind of
They don't
lost
have
track
one.
of it for the last 2 or 3 years, but what would really be helpful for Denise, Keith, me, the county, city, would be if there's it's not listed, obviously, right?
They have it marked. Walmart has an internal real estate department. They have no signs on it. It's not on their website.
So
But
they're
they're actively
on
marketing
the
yes, they have
Walmart's
it.
the owner?
Walmart Superstore. Because they're actively marketing the out parcel at Flomish and Nova.
Yeah.
They have an 1.5 acre hard corner there. So,
They have an acre and a half in Flemish and Nova.
Flomish and Nova, the out parcel corner.
Really? Okay.
7-Eleven on one corner, one of the old Dick Fernell gas stations on the southeast corner,
Okay.
northeast corner.
So what are they doing with the big piece?
Oh, that's where the marketplace is.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
They're just sitting on it? Is that, they're not marketing it?
I
as-
presume so. Some future plan. I mean, the store in Ormond sits on 35 acres. Yeah, in Williamson. So that's a superstore model, and that parking lot's 6 o'clock on Wednesday night. That parking lot's 75% full. So I would think that's got to be a smaller limit of what they can develop a new supercenter on.
All right, well, the other is a venture strategy plan, and I talked to Carl Lentz about this some time ago, where we need to find what the available properties are in that area, bank foreclosures, what the rental rates are. Is there a way to incent landlords to lower their rental rate? Maybe we meet with a few of the larger landlords like the Schwartz family and that type of thing. Find out, what their idea, what their concept is for that area, and again, it's the Fentress industrial area was started, I guess it was back in the early '70s, and really started to fill up quickly through the '70s and early '80s, as quickly as that type of project fills up, and now the development in that area is, of course, slowed down quite a bit, although you have AO Precision that's on the north side of it. There's a nice available building that's owned by the Severino family that's right on the corner. There's different properties that could be marketed. So we just, I think it's an ideal thing to start looking at and tracking it, because it's the heart and soul of industrial development in Daytona Beach. Yeah. Yes, sir.
One thing people have tend to have forgotten, since we've had so many free trade agreements and nobody deals so much in duties anymore, but the Fentress corridor is attached to the airport as part of the foreign trade zone.
Oh, see, that's something that we.
So there's a whole, in effect, duty-free market theoretically that could be added into that. With so many agreements where there's no tariffs anymore, it's become much less of an economic development tool than it has, but it's something we should think about.
Oh, see, that's the kind of information. Thank you, sir. The third thing would be the police station, and I think the police station is an absolutely awesome economic development device. Not just the police station itself; it's just the building itself may be not compatible with use. Yeah, no parking with it. I mean, and that type of thing. I don't know what the economic use of that building could be, or that land could be, if the building was raised. I know that I've been able to use a few outside development engineers in the train effort, which we'll get to in a second, that volunteered time, and I don't know if the planning and zoning department can kind of give us an idea of what that land use would look like if the building was raised. It would be a complicated and expensive raising of that building. I mean, it was probably built in the era when they used asbestos and tile and asbestos coverings on.
Have you done an environmental study on that?
I'm not aware of it.
Yeah, I mean, there could be complications. Could be lead paint. All those things happened back in the 60s and 70s when that building was first built, and so there could be complications in raising that building. So that may be one of the reasons it would be a difficult thing to do.
I'll try to schedule Rich Walton to come before you and answer some questions regarding it.
Okay.
Maybe even Michael Garrett, who's our new chief.
I mean,
building official.
even if you charged, I don't know, let's say it was $100,000 to raise a building. Even if you charge that incrementally over a period of time, 20 years, as some sort of a land lease or something, or leased land for, and that's getting to be a very popular thing these days, is leasing properties over 30, 50-year period. That would be, we need to take the cover off our head here and say, okay, what can we do with this? Because this is in the Midtown area. It's a viable piece of property, and if we're going to change the character of that area, it has to start one property at a time, okay? You just can't take and whitewash. There's supposed to be a new building go right down the street from there, from the Daytona Toyota people. There's supposed to be a O'Reilly Parts place that's going with Quincy's. Someone has just torn down the old Winn-Dixie, I guess it was the Winn-Dixie, that was a rental place.
Yeah.
That was just torn down. I don't, is
The
there any?
roof was torn off with a storm. They decided to tear the building down and do a build to suit instead of repair it.
Yeah, who owns that now? Do
The
you know?
backs,
Who?
the backs on it.
The Becks on it? So, I mean, there's local people involved in that. So, I mean, that whole area, if that area is to be revived, so to speak, I guess that, you know, the police station is an integral part of that. And as a city committee, answering to the commission, maybe we ought to give them some ideas about that and make some recommendations, because that could actually be a good stepping stone into getting that area revitalized. And then finally,
Add on that.
Go ahead.
You know, I don't know what effort the city has been taking to market that property, but, you know, in the private sector, if it was normally owned, step one would be have one of the many engineers in town do a conceptual site plan, what you can build there with various setbacks. You know, Zev Cohen has fantastic software to do that. It's $400. You can scan in a survey and drop a building on it and move it around. It pre-draws all the parking in, takes all the setbacks, you know, in real time, sitting at their conference table. So you got to have something to hand to someone. This is what you can build there. You know, it's 1.86 acres, it looks like, and it's a little narrow, so there'll be some challenges, but yeah, that's kind of where you start, and it's 40,000 square feet. It costs $2 a square foot to tear down the Ramada out on International Drive, so that's about 80,000 plus another 20,000 for some environmental potential trouble, let's say. You know, it's definitely a $100,000 tear down, and what can we build there?
Yeah.
Project.
I believe the city.
You have to do those things in order to court a buyer.
correct.
I agree.
You can't.
I believe the city went out for an RFP, and we didn't have anybody come forward. Finally,
RFP
the
for
law for the police station. Finally, the law school came to us, and we were willing to, grant them whatever they needed for. Actually, it was over a number of years. It wasn't just 1 year. If they could fit themselves there, but it didn't work out.
Well, if we can add that to the Arsenal for Team Volusia as a site that perhaps a company could move to, and again, it'd have to be a smaller company. That certainly would be a good sign. I mean, you look at the traffic pattern. You're on the crossroads of Volusia County. I mean, you can be, you're economic centric. So it's a good traffic pattern there. If you had a distribution company and wanted to get out to the interstate or go up to Ormond Beach or Port Orange or even west part of the county, it's a good traffic pattern. So anyway, that's just a thought. Number 4 is the train station. I put that on this morning because it's really kind of back. We've had to back off because it looks like Amtrak has lost out. All aboard Florida is in, and we're going to. We've been meeting with Dr. Delaney on that and trying to figure out where we're going to fit in. The site. I'm not sure that it has been solidified that it's Magnolia and Seagrave. We've found a lot of information about that property and about its availability. There's even some property that might be donated to that effort for ingress and egress off ISB. So we need to pick that up and keep that on our front. Because that again, I think there's just more than a train station there. It might be a multimodal type of situation. Also could be some commercial viability there. I know that Jack and Kelly White were very excited about it because that would perhaps be walkable to the center of the downtown area, those types of things. But as I stated in paragraph below, the above plan cannot be done without outside assistance. And we have a lot of people that I think we can call on locally that are good citizens that I've met in the train effort that have put in countless hours working on a plan that really hasn't even come to fruition yet. There's also local realtors, developers, investors to help, I think, in the Economic Development Advisory Board over the next year. And if we can do that and act as a community, I think that a lot of these situations and a lot of our challenges from the recent downturn in the economy will abate itself and as the economy moves forward. But the more intelligent we are and the better use of our resources, then I think that'll put us in a lot better position to meet those new needs with the businesses that are thinking about coming to this area. So whether it's a hotel, motel, a restaurant, a manufacturing, a distribution center, whatever, we need to be there meeting that need and figuring out how the city can and recommend to the commission how the city can better get that business into Daytona Beach. So I'd like to leave one thing on your mind before we adjourn, and that is this is not going to be a reactive committee. We need to be a proactive committee. We need not just to listen to reports. We need to be able to act on those reports and figure out a way that we can help these professionals do their job better. Okay? And, bringing Phil in on is going to help us with that a lot because he understands the economic development process. And we need to also assist Emory because he's splitting his time up with the city. And his job is not only the economic development. So if we can be there for Emory at different events, keep our ears and eyes open at chamber events or whatever events we go to, then that will help as well. So,
Thank you. I do have a couple of things.
Okay.
I wanted to take this opportunity to announce that I am the city's ombudsman for business development.
I see that.
Yeah.
If you have any more titles, I'm happy to.
Yeah. Brownfield coordinator, several others, and Enterprise Zone. And we're going to be rolling out something in short order to announce it to the general community a little bit more. But this is a start with the cards. Just want to mention that. The other thing I wanted to talk just very briefly about is the governor signed legislation around May 17th or so, which changed the way state brownfield incentives are going to be, the jobs creation brownfield incentive is going to be doled out. No business can receive those incentives if they have not signed a brownfield site rehabilitation agreement, BSRA. That particular property can receive the incentives, and the contiguous properties around that property is eligible for the incentive, but the other properties within the greater brownfield area, as I understand it, are not eligible unless they're cleaning up contamination. Now, the persons in the state that made this change, and the governor signed it, have said that they would take a look at it in a while and see if it has stymied economic growth or it has saved Florida money or what have you. So it has changed the way we will be doing business somewhat on the board. So just I'll keep you advised.
Okay. Any other comments, questions, remarks?
Two quick things.
Yeah.
Where you want to go. One regarding the train station. I don't know what the current group is looking at dealing with that as far as some kind of intermodal thing, but the former mayor of Smyrna Beach, I can't think of her name right now.
Are you talking about Sally McConaughey?
Yeah. And she had an idea at one point when that was first starting to create an intermodal, in a sense, going between a train that would go between New Smyrna Beach and Ormond Beach and just stop, whatever, for tourism. So people want to go to New Smyrna Beach and walk Canal Street for the day. They want to go to Ormond for the day or whatever else it is. It was kind of a fun thing. I don't know whether anything ever happened
Never heard of
with
that.
but there might be something at the time. Ormond was kind of interested. It was when Fred Costello was involved, and he was kind of interested because you could walk from theoretically, there to downtown Ormond as well. And so it sort of struck out if we were going to do that improvements and the track improvements, that it was something to think about. So I don't know how to pass that on, but I wanted to.
Yeah, the thing that we were concerned with, our spot, or 8 spots that were quote unquote awarded, unfortunately, New Smyrna and Bunnell did not get either one of the spots. Right now, they're after, both of those communities are after our spot. So if it would, I don't think it would go as Cocoa, New Smyrna, Daytona, Bunnell. It could. I mean, all aboard Florida could change all of this. But it was supposed to go from Cocoa to Daytona, no stop in New Smyrna or Bunnell. So it's a hot question right now, or not really hot because nothing's really going on, but it was a question that we could actually lose our position if we weren't ready. And New Smyrna has a spot of land; it is ready to go, and we're not quite that far along. What's your second? Oh, you forgot.
No, I know, but it won't carry on too much. I was going to ask Jim a question.
Go ahead.
He was the guy who started the whole thing about fiber optics and getting everybody together. Remember, we had that committee. Is that still in existence? Is anybody still?
We're changing our scope a little bit more so, though. That's our Volusia Tech Council group. And we have about, say, 12, 15 active people on there. We've got a few other that we need to get more active. And we're working right now with our higher ed institutions and their departments of computer science. And in fact, we've got a meeting this Friday with Daytona State College's computer science department and finding out, some of the curriculum and everything that they have is what they're teaching over there. And we're meeting with Daytona State College, but we're meeting at Emory-Riddle for some reason. But and then we're going to meet with Bethune-Cookman later after that. We're going to be also getting more involved with Volusia Manufacturers Association and such stuff. But the other thing I'm very excited about, though, is that in working with, like I said, we've met with Kent Sharples and also with Denise and Keith. And it was, I want to say it's about a month ago, there was a prospect that Keith had called on this group for. And they wanted to know some of the technical aspects about Volusia County as it relates to computer networks and all. And Cindy Bixler, our chair, and Bob Williams, one of our integral members, they had done a report on that and provided it to Keith and all, which he forwarded on to that prospect. And so, and that's one of the major things we'd like to do is use this tech council group, and Emory, same thing with yourself and anybody else for that matter. If you got a prospect,
Sounds like
and
we got air.
if they start asking, these
Air.
really highly technical computer related type questions and all, as we said to Keith, if it gets to the point where you just can't answer those, call on us. And we've got some people in this group that they can talk that type lingo and such. So
Well, with me, Jim, it's how do you turn it on?
well, yeah, it's almost kind of like, we need to get a 6-year-old in there that can, tell us how to do this stuff, though. But that we're hoping to do more of that, though. Do more of those type reports for these prospects when they come in, so we can at least handle the computer-related type questions for them.
All right. Any other questions? Comments? I hear move for adjournment.
Wait.
But-
On schedule next meeting.
Okay, August 24th?
Yeah, well, yes. And you see the meetings highlighted in yellow that I've tentatively proposed leading up to our event in January. And also, I've kind of picked out 3 dates that is shown here. January 7th, 8th, and 9th. This is the week after the new year. And it is 7th is Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. We've traditionally done our program on a Thursday. I just need to have some guidance on there so that I can start contacting places that we might hold the event. The other is debating whether to have it be a lunch, a breakfast, lunch, or dinner. A lunch would seem to be a no-brainer because it's probably, everybody eats lunch. So I think maybe lunch first.
When's that?
Either the January 7th, 8th, or 9th. It's a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday, period.
Well, might as well start with, keep it on Wednesday. I would think.
Thursday. It's always been on Thursday.
Oh, Thursday.
Yeah.
Okay.
August 24th is a Saturday.
No, January.
No, but your next meeting, August 24th.
Well, it says October.
January 24th is Saturday. Okay. We don't-
I was going to say, because that's my,
Okay, let's go here.
I'm on baby watch right now, so I could possibly be here or not here.
That's 21st.
Okay, so 21st will be our next meeting, and we're looking into a meeting on January 7th in 2014 as a breakfast meeting or a lunch meeting?
Well, what I'm suggesting is that January 7th, 8th, or 9th would be the date that we would have our event, where we'd do our ED Trends event. So if you give me that date range, I can start contacting places that we might hold the event for either a breakfast, lunch, or dinner.
And what's the purpose?
That's our ED Trends event that we have with the Speedway, the
Okay.
Daytona Beach News Journal and that group.
All right, well, let's you and I go offline on that and discuss that, okay? Okay. Any other news or comments? If not, 21st of August.